been a long time since I've made any type of content, but we're gonna ignore that. Anyway, I'm not willing to reintroduce myself, so let's just pretend like we're close friends that haven't seen each other in a while. Hope that sounds good. Anyway, I hope you can tell by the very subtle hint in the background, right here, that today I wish to speak about Littlest Pet Shop Popular. If you're a little behind in the YouTube scene, perhaps you may not have ever heard of LPS Popular, but allow me. It was a series produced from 2010 to 2019, and it is currently still being filmed. We don't know when the next episode's gonna come out yet, but I will speak on that a little bit more later. The person who produced this series is named Sophie GTV, and for the rest of this video, I will just be referring to her as Sophie. Sophie is a Canadian YouTuber who has been making content according to herself on YouTube since 2008. However, the channel itself was made in 2010. At the time of me filming and writing this script, it says that she has over 112 million views on her channel collectively, which is like fucking insane. According to herself, Sophie, she started making these videos with her Littlest Pet Shops because it was an easy and cheap way to entertain her little brother. And I've always thought that was just a cute little detail. According to her, she is a college student, although I don't know if this information is accurate because the last time she updated on her channel was 4 years ago. According to a pinned comment on her most recent episode of Littlest Pet Shop Popular, she got into a pretty severe car accident that has left her with chronic pain, and this is why it's been very hard for her to continue making content on top of the fact that she's also in college. So she doesn't speak about herself online personally a lot. In fact, most of the information I found about her was on her YouTube channel because she would comment and pin her own comments. While she's working on Littlest Pet Shop Popular, Sophie GTTV actually has her... I keep talking about LPS Popular kind of like it's a cryptid, and it's kind of because it is. A lot of you may be saying, what is Littlest Pet Shop Popular? What is LPS Popular? And for those, I shall get you up to date. Or at least give you a brief summary, because there is a lot that happens in this fucking series. Aww. This is Savannah Reed. She is the main character of Littlest Pet Shop Popular. Savannah, at the beginning of the series, is homeschooled, and she has never gone to a public school before. She is 16, and she is currently a junior in high school. Her family, or I should say her father, who is a sales representative for an unknown company, got a promotion that he couldn't turn down. And so her family buys a house in California in Orange County, and they move there. This is good news for Savannah, because Savannah has a best friend that 3 years ago, according to her, in 8th grade, moved from Montana to Orange County, California. And it just so happens that her best friend goes to the same school that Savannah will be attending. Her best friend, or at least her ex-best friend, I should say, is Brooke Hayes. Brooke Hayes moved away and moved to California when her mother decided that they had had enough of Montana and they wanted to go elsewhere. According to Savannah, Brooke was not very popular back when she was younger. She didn't have many friends and only recently had gotten a boyfriend after she had moved to California. LPS Popular at its core really just follows these two and their relationships that happen through the school. In a sense, duking it out for a better reputation. Alright, that's pretty much what the entirety of this series is about. I hope you enjoyed seeing these. By the way, tell me, which one do you think is real and which one do you think is fake? I'll let you know later in the video. Leave your guesses now down below. I don't really remember if I mentioned this already, but the name of the school is Orange County Day School, which pretty much the entirety of our cast at some point lovingly refers to as OCD. I'm sure this was peak humor in the 2010s. Motherfucker, my TV just went off again. But I'm sure this was peak humor. I'll get into the rest of the plot later in this video as it goes, but for now, you're pretty much caught up on everything. However, there's one more thing we need to go over. What's up with them being used? Ew. And what's up with the plot? Like, it seems kind of weird to be acting these situations out with, like, kids' toys, right? So, in the 2010s, teenage girl movies were the shit. Mean Girls, Bring It On, High School Musical, Clueless, which came out in the 90s, but it was still pretty prevalent, were some of the biggest movies to have come out at the time, okay? I think these movies had an impact on cinema and kids who grew up during that time because we were very young when these films came out and we watched them. So we watched this thinking that that's what high school must really be like, and I think that's why Little's Pet Shop Popular is the way it is. Teenagehood being put in adult situations is like a pretty common experience for people that can be represented through a variety of different mediums. In 2019, the infamous Euphoria was released. And while that's not really important to this video, Euphoria as it is, Euphoria has a lot of mixed reviews, whereas LPS Popular doesn't, even though they have a lot of similarities. I think the only difference would be drug use. There's no drug use in this. I lied, there's alcohol in this show.
I'm having so much fun. I've had 10 glasses of punch. Everything is shaking.
I now feel as if we've covered all our bases to get to the basics of Littlest Pet Shop Popular plot-wise. However, you may be asking yourself, what's up with them? I'm still confused. Why are they a part of this, okay? And here's the thing. Littlest Pet Shops were very popular when I was a child, and for reference, I'm 22. They were most popular when I was younger throughout the 2000s and the mid-2010s. I even made videos in this time period with my Littlest Pet Shops.
Is Astrid up here?
In fact, allow me to show you something. This is her. This is Astrid. She was my self-insert Littlest Pet Shop. I think her and I look very alike because not only does she have tattoos, I have tattoos. That being said, Littlest Pet Shop videos were huge on YouTube when I was younger, and I wouldn't really be able to tell you the psychology of why we enjoyed these so much, but at the end of the day, I think a lot of people forget that using Littlest Pet Shop as little talking toys in this medium is essentially puppetry at its heart. Now that really all the basics are out of the way, we have a couple more things to get out of the way. The purpose of this video are two things, mainly. Let me use my better hand. Two main things. I want to spew about Littlest Pet Shop Popular, and doing that to my friends and family has probably made their ears bleed on more than one occasion. Doing it in a video format will allow me to express myself in a longer way and allow me to get everything I need out of my system. And for two, I wish to critically analyze and think about the history of Littlest Pet Shop Popular and what it left on the series as a residue from its existence. I'm curious, how did Littlest Pet Shop affect the YouTube platform, if at all? And how did it affect content moving forward for children and adults? A couple disclaimers before we move on to summarizing in episodes, okay? Number one, if my outfit ever changes, or the set, or the lighting, it's because I'm filming this probably over a very long period of time. Hopefully, it will be tolerable to deal with the changes in the scenery. Number two, it is my first time making a YouTube video this long, and I may split it up into sections. I don't want my laptop to literally explode from me trying to export a video that is 14 fucking hours long. And speaking of the length of these videos, I wish to give credit where credit is due. Long-form video content wasn't very popular until recently. My favorite long-form content creators are Jenny Nicholson and Quentin Reviews. Both of them just spew about whatever the fuck they want, and it takes them forever to make it, and they upload once in a fucking blue moon. That's kind of the vibe. So, big thanks to them for giving me some brain juice to get this out of my brain. Anyway, now that all that basic shit is out of the way, let's talk about episode 1 of Littlest Pet Shop Popular. Here's a lit update since last time. I found my fucking remote, which means I can turn it on from here. Welcome back. So excited to be here. Unfortunately, there's something I realized after filming all that introduction is that I kind of forgot that people need content warnings and trigger warnings now. Which is fine, because this series has a lot of warning-worthy stuff, so I'm going to be going over that. Hope that's okay. What do you think? I can now finally get some use out of this. My mom got this for me at a Scholastic book fair when I was probably 8 years old. All right, time to go over all our trigger warnings. It's very small, but you get to deal with that, but it's always there, just in case you forget. It looks so fucking funny on the camera. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm fucking stupid. Okay. Trigger warning number 1, eating disorders. I feel like that's probably the most prevalent one. If you've ever watched LPS Popular, then you'll know there's a lot of fucking eating disorders in this franchise. Number 2, physical and mental assault, mainly perpetuated by Brooklyn Hayes. Mental health talk in general, I didn't really know how to trigger warning that, so I just went with like talks of depression, suicidal ideation. Number 4, animal abuse, again, because of her. 5, general sexually suggestive content. There is a lot of sexual innuendo in this series, so get over it. And last but not least, which I almost forgot, drug and alcohol innuendo and talk.
I've had 10 glasses of punch. Everything is shaking.
So if you're not comfortable with any of these 6 listed things, I don't know what to tell you. Now that we have all of that garbage out of the way, I can get on to the actual logistics of the series, which is episode 1, entitled, Who's That Girl? In fact, let me get it up on the TV. Where's Who's That Girl? Quality content. Before I begin talking about my spicy opinions, I will be talking about our general plot overview of this episode. You'll see it playing in the background. We begin our episode with our main character, Savannah, being told by her family, her mom and dad, that her father got a job opportunity in California that they couldn't turn down, and so they're moving to Orange County. Little do we know, this is little Brooke here in the background. These two were really hitting it off in elementary and middle school. But Brooke moved away when they were in 8th grade and hasn't responded to any of Savannah's attempts to reach out to her. This is important later. Also, on a side note, I don't know where she moved to in Orange County or where this takes place, but I'm saying Newport Beach, California. The only reason I think this is because of the general scenery of the area. And also, she described it as like the richest part of Orange County. So, and Newport Beach majoritively has all of it, so that's what I'm going with. I'm gonna say they moved to Newport. The upside of all this is that not only is Savannah going to be moving, she is going to no longer be homeschooled, which she has been for apparently the first 16 years of her life, meaning this will be the first time she ever gets to interact with like a real public school setting. Savannah thinks on how Brooklyn hasn't responded to her, and she inquires her mother, and her mom basically says, well, if that bitch hasn't responded to you in that long, then why do you even want to see her? And Savannah's like, silly mother, you just don't understand. Like, here's them having that conversation literally right now. After completely disregarding her parents' advice, as most teenagers do, and I speak from experience, we cut to the next day at school where Savannah is being dropped off at school by her mom. Wicked transition. Savannah, when she gets there, is already getting made fun of for the way she looks, which is like ridiculous, by the way. I'm sure she looks fine. I'm sure she's LPS Popular hot even here, but we'll get to that later. By the way, this character, that character, and this character that I showed you earlier are the same person. We'll get into that later. Don't worry about it. Anyway, getting dropped off by her mom, everybody's making fun of her, she's dropping all her shit, she's never been to public school, has no clue where she's going, and then this girl runs up to her and says, hey, you look like you're new, I think you need help, my name is Angelina Davis, okay, don't call me Angel, bitch, call me Lena, okay? And we meet Lena. That's Angelina for future reference. That's Lena. This is Savannah. This is also Savannah. It'll make sense later. After some sweet introductions, Lena takes Savannah to go visit Lena's best friend in the school named Genevieve Ryan. Okay, we also get introduced to Sage Bond, who is Brooklyn Hayes' boyfriend. Okay, and apparently
it's about being a fucking American, a state of mind.
Has been for 3 years, but we don't learn that later. But it's kind of important information now too, so just thought I'd let you in on the little secret. Sage Bond is what I would call LPS popular hot. Wow, there's just a fucking ad being played in the background. Okay, anyway, LPS popular hot, as I would define it, is kind of the same way that I would define like 2012 hot, which is like Zac Efron core. So in my brain, I just kind of think of him as Zac Efron, if that helps you a little bit, like, visualize without the toys. There's Angelina introducing Savannah to her friend, Genevieve. That's Genevieve. She's also important. I want you to picture in true Mean Girls fashion that Brooklyn Hayes, or our main antagonist, okay, she walks down this hallway serving absolute cunt. I will have to censor that, okay? Serving, and her friends come in too. This is when we meet Brooke Hayes for the first time in the series. Brooke's friends are kind of played off as kind of two characters that aren't really important, but I think they are, so I'm going to introduce you to them. Here is Brooke Hayes' dramatic introduction to the series. That right there, this chihuahua, is Alicia Hamilton. That is Sage Bond, okay? Hold up, we'll get there. Never mind, that's when the episode ends. I will show you Brooke's other friend. Okay, I cannot get a good shot. Cannot get a good shot of her for the life of me, but the girl that's behind Alicia right here, that is Rachel Rivera. Okay, that's all you need to know. Also, Rachel Rivera and what's her face? Sav's other friend. Shit, what's her name? I have a book of reference here. Genevieve and Rachel look freakishly alike, and it's hard to tell them apart. Now that I've gone over all of that, I want to go over my perspective on each character. I think Savannah is a very naive girl at best, and I understand because I was homeschooled for a couple years of my childhood, so I got kind of like that weird homeschooled kid vibe coming off me. So I understand. Lena and Jenny are pretty useless at this point in the series. I mean, the only reason why they're in the first episode is just to introduce characters, and same thing with Sage and Brooke. They're just given some pretty basic personalities right now, and I think that's fine because we're just on the first episode anyway, so does it really need to be that in depth? Probably not. By the way, that is Savannah before she got yassified, and those other two are her mom and dad. You can tell that this episode is like filmed in a literal toaster because the audio quality is so bad, but you can give it a pass because I think, when was it uploaded? Let's check. 12 years ago! Fuck, I'm old. But yes, we can give this a pass. This audio quality gets a pass in my. So what are the key takeaways? This is a very Mean Girls like plot, which I'm not complaining. Brooke Hayes is clearly supposed to be Regina George. She's clearly supposed to be Katie Heron. It's this whole, oh shit, I just hit my fan with this. She's supposed to be Katie Heron. It's clearly supposed to be this whole thing, and I'm here for it. A lot of people say this is like, this series is like really derivative, but I feel like that's the point. It's supposed to be unrealistic and funny, or at least I think it is, because I love this series. Also, upon a first rewatch, I kind of realized that this series has like a lot to offer, and I can already tell how this changed the YouTube platform. I think this is probably the first Littlest Pet Shop video to go as massively viral as it did. I'm pretty sure this has like 4 million views on it. Yeah, 3.9 million views. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. A toy video like this would never get more than 500,000 views, much less like 4 million. Something I like about the series that starts off strong is that Savannah and her friends are very clearly supposed to be the ones we're rooting for. Like, they're not as vapid, and they're intelligent, and they're well-spoken, whereas Brooke's friends tend to be very vapid and appearance-based. And I think that's a really good distinction to start with in the series because it becomes a really important plot point like a plot thread more than anything throughout the entirety of the series. I just love using this pointer. I'm gonna keep using it the whole time, and you'll have to get used to it. I feel as if I've kind of gone over all of my thoughts for this series. I could go more in depth on like the parallels to Mean Girls, but I think I'm gonna save that for episode 2 and 3, because that's when the parallels get like really, really intense. So yeah, that's episode 1. Eins. Here kommt die Sonne. Zwei. Oh shit. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's get into episode 2. Shit. Bet you didn't expect that type of wicked transition. I learned it from TikTok. Before we continue, you may or may not have noticed the background being little gay rainbow hearts, and it is because at the time of me filming this, it is Pride Month. I am non-binary and I am lesbian, and I am proud to be both. And I hope it's a good Pride Month, even though this is probably going to be delivered probably by next year's Pride Month. They're not in focus, but in the background, I have the trigger warnings. If you forgot what they are, I suggest you go back and revisit them. But now I wish to get into episode 2 of Littlest Pet Shop Popular, entitled Best Frenemies Forever. I didn't realize that book was in frame. That's kind of what's keeping my phone up right now. I deeply apologize for that. That's just amateur. So we start off at the end of episode 1. And Savannah does not even recognize Brooklyn Hayes as her old best friend. Genevieve tells Savannah that that is Brooklyn Hayes, aka Brooklyn from Montana. And she is the captain of the cheerleading squad, and she is the leader of the Barbie dolls. For the sake of this video, I will be calling them the Barbs, because it just makes way more sense to me.
Keep it a bean, yo. He talk nice cause the pussy game me, how?
Let's see. And her 2 best friends are Alicia Hamilton and Rachel Rivera. According to Genevieve, Brooklyn framed her for cheating on her math final and thus ended up failing and having to go to summer school. And then Angelina chimes in, saying that Brooke stole all of her clothes out of her gym locker just to humiliate her, and Genevieve had to come rescue her and bring some spare clothes. Also, Angelina follows that up by saying that Brooklyn stole a Gucci handbag that her grandmother got her for a birthday gift, I think. Absolutely ridiculous. And apparently the Gucci handbag was $200. After her newfound friends tell her all this shit about Brooke, Savannah completely goes into denial, and she starts telling her friends that you are lying and you're basically just jealous of Brooklyn and none of you have any place to talk. And she basically tries gaslighting them into thinking that Brooke is nicer than she is. And she clearly has no clue what Brooklyn's actually like, considering they haven't even spoke in 3 years. But I think that just speaks on Savannah's naivete throughout the entirety of the series. So after gaslighting her new friends, Savannah goes to meet up with Brooklyn again, who is currently all over Sage Bond, as usual. And when Brooke gets run into by Savannah, basically gives her this stare, and her friends start making fun of her.
Brooklyn, it's me, Savvy. Don't you remember me? Can you believe it? I moved too. Have we met?
Savannah thinks this is all just an elaborate prank that Brooke is attempting to play on her, and she tells Brooke playfully, whatever, I'll see you at lunch. And she goes to her English class with Mr. Burke. And before we even get into the rest of the plot, I fucking adore Mr. Burke. He is hilarious, and he is easily what I strive to be as an adult. I'm currently in college to become an English major, and he is literally what I strive to be.
Or to spell Tyrannosaurus from the top of your head, you are going to have some very major problems. Allow me to remind you that switching to regular English, or what I like to call the dum-dum class,
Anyway, we shall continue with the plot. In the middle of her class, Savannah, while Mr. Burke is going over his material, she gets up to go to the bathroom, without asking. And Mr. Burke basically tells her to sit back down and what are you doing? Because you need to ask to go to the bathroom. And Rachel Rivera is sitting next to her in this class, and she basically makes fun of her even more. And Savannah feels very isolated and very alone, and that's where the episode ends. So now that we've gone over the plot, I want to go over my thoughts. And the first thing I want to go over is the development of Savannah's personality through the series. And something I noticed at the beginning of the series is that her gaslighting her friends, to be honest, seems very out of character when you first watch the series. And then later as you go along, you notice that because of her long-term friendship with Brooklyn, she has some of that leftover manipulative gaslighting. And I don't see this as just a one-off thing because on the first episode, she tries telling her mom, like, no, Brooke totally still wants to be my friend and I have faith in her. And she tries telling her how great Brooke is. And I think as much as she's trying to be a good friend, she's definitely unintentionally gaslighting the people around her who seem to love and care about her the most, which clearly is a trait that she picked up from Brooklyn. Because as we'll see later in the series, Brooklyn is not so innocent, and she has not been for a very long time. She clearly is a product of her environment, and it's kind of interesting to watch, and I like that the seed is planted so early in the series. The second thing I want to go over is the fact of Savannah getting embarrassed at the end because she wants to go take a piss.
That's piss.
That literally gave me, like, Vietnam, World War II type flashbacks. Like, and the reason why is, as, if you were paying attention earlier, I mentioned I was homeschooled for a period of time. And coming back to public school, I completely forgot about the fact that you have to ask to go to the bathroom. And the amount of times I would just get up and go, my teachers just got used to me not asking, because at first they took it very personally. And in that sense, American public school is a disease, okay? A disease. And I know this series is touted for being unrealistic, but I actually thought this was a very grounded part of the series, and I really enjoyed it. So this episode is pretty short and pretty to the point, so I don't really have much else to say about it. But I will let you in on a little secret. After episode 3, I will be hosting a Quentin Reviews style intermission where I will be going over some of the locations, probably all of the locations actually, to this series, and it will provide some greater context, and I think you'll really like it. So, but before that, we're gonna go to episode 3, so let's get into it. Alright, on to episode 3. In advance, I'm sorry about the lighting. I'm doing my best. I'm filming on an Android in Oregon, so that should tell you enough. Alright, so we begin with Savannah trying to talk to her newfound friends after trying to talk to Brooke. She goes to talk to her friends, and they're ignoring her, so Savannah apologizes and is like, I'm sorry I called you jealous and tried to gaslight you. Oopsie daisy. So her and her new friends head to the cafe, aka the cafeteria in this series, and Savannah again sees Brooke, and Savannah once again doesn't take the social hint and runs up to Savannah trying to talk to her, and Brooke surprisingly responds and says, you know what, you're right, we should talk. And Brooke takes her outside of the cafe into the lockers, like where the lockers are. There's like this vending machine, and they go behind that, so you know it's not going to be good. It looks like I'm petting them. Brooke basically just takes Savannah back there to verbally assault her. In fact, I'm just gonna play the clip of the verbal assault that she commits on Savannah.
Into my life like this? What are you talking about? Look here, Savannah. I am not your BFFL or whatever anymore, okay? That was so 7th grade. This is the 11th grade now, and I am rich and popular and the leader of the Barbie dolls. I don't need losers like you coming and ruining my perfect reputation. What? So stay away from me. We don't know each other, okay?
The first time I rewatched this, my jaw was literally on the floor, and I was like, I forgot how iconic this series was, really, truly, and honestly. So after this verbal beating, we cut to Savannah going home after school. She walks in, and she had to walk home because her mom couldn't pick her up, and she's obviously, like, losing it. She's exhausted, and her mom's like, Savannah, what's up? And she literally just dramatically runs into her room and starts freaking out. She starts tearing all the posters off the wall. Long story short, her mom comes in after this freak out and says pretty much the exact same thing that she said earlier before she went to school, before Savannah went to school, and says, well, she's clearly not worth your time. Like, what are you having a cow for in the first place? Like, calm down. She's not worth your time anyway. You shouldn't have gotten your hopes up in the first place. And by the way, Savannah's mom is a real one. She reminds me of my mom, and I love that. Savannah Reed's mom, I stand with her. So we cut to the next day, and Savannah's getting ready for school. She's putting on makeup and puts on a cute little outfit. She goes to school. She sees Brooke and her Barbs, and they walk in, and they're all wearing matching Tiffany & Co. necklaces. Brooke was just trying to make everybody else look bad, but specifically Savannah, Genevieve, and Angelina, because they're apparently wearing clothes that are like Target Pride collection bad. So I don't know what y'all have against Target in this series. Do they have Target in Canada? You know what? Let's find out together. Is Target in Canada? It looks like there's a few of them, but what I was gonna say, maybe because she's Canadian, she's like, I'm gonna look up a store that's like not Walmart, but like a step above that, and she went with Target. That was my theory out the goddamn window. Anyway, after attempting to look nice and getting showed up by Brooke's friends, Savannah has a hard time focusing at school. She keeps like seeing Brooke and her friends in all of her classes, and she's like exhausted of constantly seeing them. One thing I love is that Blue Foundation's Eyes on Fire starts playing. Great song, used in many questionable films and TV shows, but it doesn't take away the fact that it's a good song. So after her day of not focusing in school, she is in her room and her mom comes in, and Savannah's like, Mom, can we go somewhere nice? Like, the girls shop at such nice places, but I don't shop there. And her mom's like, well, like where? And she's like, oh, Tiffany & Co. and Gucci. And her mom's like, bitch, okay, we just moved to Canada. Do you expect us to have that kind of money right now? And she suggests, well, maybe we can go to Abercrombie and Fitch, or maybe Hollister. And I'm like, really shows the era in which this was filmed, because I don't think I've seen a Hollister store in forever, much less Abercrombie and Fitch. Amber, who the fuck goofy eye name is that? After this convo with her mom, we cut to Savannah the next day at school, talking to her friends, and she's like, I want to go and get a glow up, but my mom is a poor bitch. And her friends are like, oh, well, you know what? I'll take you. Don't even worry about it. I'll pay for it. I'll take my dad's credit card. That's literally what they say, by the way. They're like, don't even worry about it. My parents won't even notice. I'm like, so her friends offer to take her out, and I think it was Rachel. Sorry, not Rachel. See, I even get them confused in my head. It's Genevieve. Anyway, it gets worse later in the series too, because Genevieve gets yassified and she looks even more like Rachel. We'll get into that later, but it's a whole thing. But anyway, I think it's Genevieve is the one that says, oh, I'll go get you yassified. Don't worry, I'll just take my parents' credit card. And she's the one who suggests that Savannah goes blonde. And Sav is like, that's a great idea. And that's where the episode ends. So now I want to get into my thoughts. So kind of like the last episode, I don't really have a lot to say because these are the beginning episodes. These aren't really anything. They're just laying the groundwork. Okay. And the groundwork, no matter what series it's for, is usually pretty boring. But one thing I will say is that I know a lot of people say this series is unrealistic, and it is. And it is. I'm about to prove why. Did these bitches live near Tiffany & Co.? And there's no way that this bitch's mom makes enough to be buying her and her friends matching Tiffany & Co. necklaces. You and me, let's go on Google right now and see like what the average cost for a Tiffany & Co. necklace is. Just out of curiosity. I need to know. All right, it's on their website. I'll show you on screen. And it looks like they're wearing diamond necklaces. And it looks like they're wearing something from their bold section because the necklaces are like huge. So I kind of want to give some cadence to that. Ooh, this necklace that I found that looks pretty akin to the one that they're wearing is $99,000. her necklace. So there's that. That'd at least be $300,000 in diamonds put on that 16-year-old bitch. You want to talk about unrealistic? That's the most unrealistic part of this series. One last thing I want to go over before we get into our fun little intermission is that I like how when Brooke is confronting Savannah, it's quiet for a good part of it. And I think it's because because beforehand there was music and then it stops when Brooke is talking. And I think that's a really subtle and good way to show how when she is directly in that manner, it's serious. Like, she's being dead serious. This is not a joke. And it really shows how crazy. Did you see that? Bitch, that was nasty, dog. I think it really shows how crazy Brooke is deep down. And I love that. Also, before one of you says, you're being a fucking ableist, why are you saying she's crazy? She is a plastic cat toy that is not real. Go outside. So anyway, I don't have many thoughts, kind of like the last episode, so I'm just going to move on to our fun intermission, which I'm really excited for. And there's some really cool fun facts in there because I did a lot of research for this part. Actually, I think the intermissions will be my favorite part to film just because I get to spew about all the little stuff I noticed. So I'm really excited to show you. Anyway, I'll shut the fuck up now. Intermission 1! Can we just say, hello, hair growth? I know I look oily and disgusting, but hello. It's been a fucking year since those last clips. It is May 25th, 2024, and I'm 23 years old now. But I'm back, baby, I'm back. The hyperfixation is back, and so I'm filming intermission 4. I'm thinking after this one, I'm gonna edit this and then release these episodes all together just so it seems somewhat cohesive, and so that way, that was my cat's tail, by the way. So that way I don't feel pressure. So for this first intermission, I want to cover something simple that is essential to know for the rest of the series, which are the locations, love. The locations. We want to know. That's my fucking location.
That's my fucking location.
If you see me looking over here, it's because I have a script and I don't want to miss anything. But the first location that's important is, of course, OCD, Orange County Day School, which also for some reason gets interchangeably called Orange County Day Academy. I look insane, but I have a quick editor's note. I completely forgot to mention that like halfway throughout the series, for some reason, the school's external scenery changes. Like, it becomes a real life school, and this also happens to Brooklyn's house later, and she uses like real images, and reverse Google searching these doesn't lead me anywhere helpful. Orange County Day School is a school in Russia, and when I translated it, it literally just, the name of the school is school number 3. I don't know why this change happened, and I don't know why she uses this image of the school, but I guess that's one of the unsolved mysteries of this series that I just can't pinpoint. Thanks. So this is where like everything important takes place. Later in the series, we get to see more houses pop up, but whatever. It's represented by the biggest, littlest pet shop playset. The school itself allegedly has 2 buildings. The school itself and the office building, which for some reason is separate from the school. I don't know why, but whatever. Funny enough, from what I understand, the school does not have a uniform or mascot, which I only recognized when I was reading the LPS Popular Wiki, which yes, there is a wiki. So on top of the 2 buildings, OCD has 3 floors. The first is the classroom and the lockers. The bottom floor is what they call the storage floor and like the garbage floor. And then there's the roof, which I don't think we get any scenery on, but we do get to see the basement floor. In the school, there's a lot of like micro important areas, but I made a list of them here. The most important ones are the hallway, the cafe and or the cafeteria, as we've discussed, the office building, and the basement, which are all of these are the most referenced and the most seen in the series. I also want to point out that I got most of the photos that I'm using for OCD from the LPS Popular Wiki. I love you guys so much. Thank you for your help. Next is the mentioned Cozy Shack, which is separate from the mall, but it's a small cafe where the Barbie dolls go to plot against Savannah later in the series. It doesn't have any outside shots, meaning nor does it have any interesting characteristics, and it's literally only in one episode. But when I said I was covering everything, I meant I was covering it. So the Cozy Shack exists. We see it once, she served, and then she died. Next is not even a real thing in the series. In the series, they acknowledge Abercrombie and Fitch as a separate store, okay? But there's a mentioned joke later that Sage Bond looks like he's a model for what they called Abercorgi and Fetch, which could be just a passing joke. But what if in the series there is in fact an Abercrombie and Fitch alongside Abercorgi and Fetch as a separate chain? Or is this like a sister location? I don't know. Doesn't matter, because I'm using this as an excuse to show y'all this image of Sage Bond. Please absorb it while you can. It's my favorite thing ever. I don't really know if Abercorgi and Fetch counts as a location, but next we're going over houses. The first is the Reed household, which is portrayed using the Littlest Pet Shop Get Better Center, which I had and loved so much as a kid. It's probably the most commonplace secondary to OCD. 3 people live in the Reed household: Savannah, Mr. Reed, and Mrs. Reed, which for some reason are never given first names. I've tried looking, I can't find them. There are only 2 rooms in the entire Reed household that are shown, and it's Savannah's room and the kitchen. I presume that the parents have a place to themselves, but it's not like we ever see it. Next is the Hayes mansion, which is one of the only places in the series that doesn't really have a building to represent it. There isn't like an LPS building that represents her house, but Brooke's mansion is represented. And when I reverse Google searched it, the only thing I could find was from a company called Show Me Landscape Lighting. I don't know. I think maybe Sophie just like Googled a large cinematic mansion shot and then she put a blue filter over it and just like called it a day. School and the mansion, I don't understand why she used these pictures, but maybe they were at the top of the Google search results in 2012, who knows. In this mansion, there is a kitchen, the upstairs where Brooke's room is, and the living room. I also want to point out that this house has the most attention and detail put into it. Like, it's my favorite set-wise. I love Brooke's room. You can tell that it's supposed to be this vast open space, and I really like that. The Hayes mansion has 3 people in it. Miss Hayes, which is Brooklyn Hayes' mom, Brooklyn, and Gigi, her pet cricket, which we will get into later. One of the lesser seen homes, but should be mentioned, is the Bond home. The Bond's home is represented by also the Littlest Pet Shop Get Better Center. And in the home, we have Sage's bedroom, the kitchen, and we do see their front door a couple times, but that's it. My favorite room, although I love Brooklyn Hayes' bedroom, my bedroom that I would want is Sage's room. It is so flipping cute. It screams boy room, and I just love it. Sage, his mom and his dad lived there. However, no spoilers, but there is a guest that comes to live in his home in season 2. Last, but certainly not least, we got the Lawrence household. We're not seeing that until season 2. There are 2 people that live in the Lawrence household, both of which are students. They play a side role in the series later. Their names are Lana and Josh, okay? They're 2 16-year-olds. It's just their like rented home. It's not represented with any building or home or weird screenshot of some random landscaping company's website, so nothing interesting there. For now, this completes intermission number 1, which I am ecstatic to finish nearly a year after filming those first few clips that you've seen. That being said, I'm back on my motherfucking grind, okay? And while you may not be able to see me review episode 4 for a little while, just know that I'm lurking, I'm stalking when you least expect it, and I will have a new grand episode of this series out hopefully soon. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Maybe not. But either way, take care of yourself.